everybody, welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I decided to get my grocery shopping done for hopefully the entire month of April. So as you can see in my thumbnail, I took all precautions. I wore gloves, I wore a hood, I wore a little face mask thing, and then I went on my journey. So I'm not going to show you everything that I got because I did spend almost $300. Like I said, I'm trying to get through the entire month, and I also spent over like 3 hours trying to maintain everything. And I actually, when we got home, I made my husband put his gloves on. We just made sure that we took like a wet washcloth and wiped everything down as much as we could before we brought it into the house. So just extra precautions as we can during this pandemic time. You can obviously do whatever you see fit, but I'm always a big proponent of better safe than sorry. So I had to stop at 3 different stores. And I'm not actually going to show you everything that I got, but I am going to pinpoint the things that I stocked up on or I may have already had, and let you know exactly my reasoning behind what I got, and hopefully it'll be helpful to you to see what I got, because there's a lot of things that are the base of a lot of meals. So you may be able to stave off going to the grocery store for like a couple more days or even a week if you were to get these basic products. So I'm going to take you into my kitchen right now, and then we'll go check out my pantry in a little bit, and I'll let you know how I did it. Alright, so when it comes to fresh produce, obviously if you are stocking up for the month, it may not last all the way through the month. So I usually get a produce subscription, so that helps maybe once or twice a month. But one thing that you can do is you can always buy a lot of what you usually put in a lot of meals. So in our case, we use peppers pretty regularly, we use onions pretty regularly. So that's something that you can just cut up and freeze if it's something that is freezable. Obviously something like cucumbers or something, you're not going to be able to freeze those and have them be in the same shape. But we use a bunch of peppers, so I had my husband cut them up and I just freeze them in a Ziploc bag, or in this case I have like a silicone bag that I put them in. And then that way it's even ready for meals when you're trying to cook up tacos or what have you. Now I can just throw it in instead of having to cut it all up. So that's really been convenient. When it comes to fruits and stuff, obviously you can freeze those as well for smoothies and that kind of stuff, which is usually what I do anyways when I find them on clearance or on sale. But obviously with the fresh produce, you want to get as much as possible because it's really going to help your immune system right now, especially in these uncertain times. So hopefully you're able to get your hands on a bunch of those goodies. But if not, you can always choose a frozen option as well. Okay, so let's talk about a few non-perishable items that aren't in my pantry. So I've already had this, but this is something to think about, is to just get whole kernel popcorn. If you are a family that really likes to snack, this is obviously super easy and it goes a really long way. So if you get a bag like this and you can cook it on the stovetop with a little bit of oil, it's perfect that way. A little less of a conventional item. I have not had this in so long, but it's something that if you like to have flavorful drinks or what have you, you can always buy it in a powder form, and then that way you don't have to buy a ton of bottled juices or drinks, but you can get it from concentrate. So this is just something that you can take advantage of. Flour. So I had to actually go to 3 different stores in order to get flour. But I got one bag. I already had a bag, so I didn't want to, there was literally probably like 7 bags by the time I got to the 3rd store left, and I didn't want to be a hoarder or take it away from somebody else who really needed it. So I got some flour because flour is obviously the base in a ton of different items that you can cook. So we made pizza dough the other day, so I made a double batch and then I froze 1/2. So now we have pizza dough ready for the next time we want to make pizza. A bunch of other things. So you can obviously make bread. If you run out of bread, you can make a couple loaves in your oven. Obviously you'll want to buy yeast. They didn't have like a bulk option of this, so that's why I got these, but just something to think about. One other thing I made because we ran out was pancake mix. So you can find a quick pancake mix recipe online. You can obviously batter vegetables if you really want to do that and throw them in the oven that way. And if it really comes down to it, you can make your own pasta, you can make your own tortillas, you can obviously make a ton of different baked goods, cookies, that kind of stuff with it too. Okay, so here we are in my newly organized pantry that I'm very proud of. Just wanted to talk to you about a couple staples that I stocked up on or that I may have already had. So obviously one of the big things is going to be beans. So I have 4 cans of black beans and some garbanzo beans or chickpeas here, and then I even have some like dried beans. So whatever you can kind of get your hand on there. Obviously you can use beans in a bunch of different types of cuisine, but also they can kind of stretch your meals. So what I mean by that is, I'm gonna also put this in the same category, is lentils. So I use lentils a lot. If you've seen any of my videos, I usually use the lentils to try to cut whatever mock meat I'm using in half. So, or if I'm making like a double batch of something, I'll use 1 package of the mock meat and then use like a cup or so of lentils and then cook them that way. Not only does it obviously kick up the nutrients, but even if you're not plant-based and you want to use something like lentils or beans to kind of cut your protein in half and then stretch it for a little bit longer, this is always a really good way to do that. And also it's super cheap. Like obviously a can of beans is going to be less than $1. Dried beans are even cheaper. So if you have the time to soak them and everything right now, then that's always a great option. And then one other thing I want to talk about is tomatoes. So we use tomatoes a lot more than you would really think. Tomato is a base in a lot of different things, right? So you can use diced tomatoes in soups. If you ran out of pasta sauce, you could make pasta sauce with it. If you ran out of salsa, you could make that with it. Tomato paste is a really good way to boost up a lot of flavor in your meals as well. If you're having a tomato-based dish like goulash or something like that, this is a great way to boost up that flavor. And obviously you can make a ton of different kinds of soups with this kind of stuff. I have some leftover lasagna noodles in here that I probably don't have enough to make a full meal, but I have like a lasagna tomato-based crock pot soup that I can make with it. So just trying to be obviously as creative as possible, but I noticed that I use tomatoes all the time, especially because I usually, if you've already watched some of my videos before, you know that I usually double batch everything because my husband is a bottomless pit. So just a really good option to make sure that, again, your meals kind of stretch out a little bit. And then, of course, we can't complete this without talking about oats. So obviously oats are really super cheap as well, but they can, again, be used in a lot of different things. So you can grind this into oat flour and use that in different purposes that you may use regular flour for. If you happen to run out of that, you can make obviously oatmeal, cookies. I love to make no-bake cookies with this. I have a recipe for black bean burgers that actually uses oats. And then also, if you are a cereal eater and you run out of cereal, you can always make granola, or you can put obviously granola on smoothie bowls or yogurt or what have you as well. So a great staple. And then of course, just any other item that you eat a lot of. So I love corn. So we stocked up quite a bit on corn. We put black olives in quite a bit of things. We also put mushroom in quite a few of our dishes. And then of course, whatever grain that you usually eat a lot of. So as you can see, we have some rice here. I have some quinoa up in the cupboard upstairs. So hopefully that can last quite a while, but you always obviously want some type of starch to go with your meals that will last you really long ways. You can obviously use potatoes. I had a hard time finding potatoes the trip before this last time. I was able to find some this last time, but again, if they run out, make sure that you are getting quinoa or rice or something like that to kind of bulk up your meals, and that makes them last a lot longer as well. Okay, so the last thing that I want to mention is just if you are really trying to stave off going to the grocery store on your next trip, you want to probably stock up on like different marinades and maybe even different seasonings. So like I have this sun-dried tomato marinade, and you know, I always stock up on a ton of different seasonings anyways, but especially in this case, if just for example, you're eating rice and beans for a couple days or every day for dinner, then you're gonna wanna maybe flavor it with something different. So maybe you want like traditional rice and beans, like jambalaya style, but then the next day you're gonna flavor it like Mexican style. I don't know, but just to try to kind of mix it up, obviously, so that you don't feel like you're eating the same thing all the time. But if that's all you have left, then obviously it can help a little bit. And of course, my thought process was to think of the base ingredient of what you mostly eat. So as you can see in my last video, or one of my last videos, I had to make milk myself because the grocery store was out of milk. So if that is the case, you want to stock up on oats or cashews or whatever you plan on making your milk out of, if that is an option for you. Obviously, if you eat a lot of sandwiches, you want to make sure that you have a bunch of bread. So if you're able to buy bread, great. If you're not, or if you run out before the time that you want to go to the grocery store, then obviously you want to buy some flour and some yeast. So just something to think about that obviously will be specific to you. Alright, so that's it. Hopefully I won't have to go grocery shopping until May, but we'll see how this thing goes. Hopefully everybody's staying healthy and safe out there. If you have any other tips you want to share about how you went grocery shopping and how you can make things last a little bit longer, please share them in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.